For the last section in this unit, we're going to look at circles in the coordinate plane. We're going to look at some equations, and we're going to look at how to graph circles. Now, the standard equation of a circle comes in the form of the quantity of x minus h squared plus the quantity of y minus k squared equals r squared, where h and k represent the center of the circle. The h is the x value, the k is the y value, and r is the radius. And that helps us identify where the circle center is and how far around it's going to go based on the radius. Looks complicated, but it's actually pretty easy. So we want the standard equation of a circle with a center at 5, -2 and a radius of 7. So we're going to start with our standard equation, and I suggest that you write this each time because it'll help you remember it. X minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared, and then we simply plug in the numbers. So x minus 5 quantity squared plus y minus a -2 quantity squared equals 7 squared, and then we just have to simplify where necessary. So x minus 5 squared plus, now when we subtract a negative, that becomes positive, so y plus 2 squared equals 49. There's the equation of the circle. Let's look at two different examples. Now we want center at 3, 5 and a radius of 6. So again, we're going to go with our standard equation. All right. So we have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 5 quantity squared equals 6 squared, which is 36. Now for this next one, again, after a while you may get annoyed with writing this standard form, but I suggest that you write it each time because it'll help you remember it and helps you know where to place the information. So x minus a -2, we're going to be plus 2. And then we have y minus a -1, so we're going to be plus 1. And the square root of 2, when you square that, you just get 2. So there's our equation. Okay. Now what about, this is slightly different. It says, what is the standard equation of the circle with the center 1, -3 that passes through the point 2, 2? So we still need our standard equation. So I'm going to go ahead and write that up here. But what are we missing? We're missing the radius. Well, we know the radius is the distance from the center to a point on the circle. Well, we're given a center and a point on the circle, so we're going to use the distance formula. For those of you that don't remember the distance formula, here it is. It is x2 minus x1 plus, and square that, and then we take y2 minus y1 and square that. Add those two together, take the square root of the whole thing. So here we go. And it doesn't matter what you use as x2 and x1, y2 and y1, so long as you start with the same point each time. I'm going to start with this point. So I'm going to have 2 minus 1, and then I'm going to have 2 minus a -3. So I have 2 plus 3. All right, so 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 plus 3 is 5. So I have 1 squared plus 5 squared. 1 squared is 1, 5 squared is 25, so we get the square root of 26. You do not have to simplify it any further. You do not have to put it into a calculator because this is the radius, and remember, we're going to square it. So if we take our center, x minus 1 quantity squared, plus y, and we're going to have plus 3 because it's a -3, equals the radius squared. My radius is the square root of 26, so I square that, I get 26. And there's the equation of my circle. Let's try another one just like that. We're going to start with our standard form, x minus h squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared, but we need to find our r. So the distance, that's going to be our r. Write out the distance formula. It helps if you write it every time because then you'll not only remember it, but it helps you know where to place your numbers. Okay, so let's plug in our numbers. Now for this one, I'm going to actually start with my center. So 5 plus 1 squared. And if you're wondering why it's plus 1, because I would subtract a negative 1. That's also why I started here, so that since this was a negative, I end up adding instead of having a negative number and having to square it, and that can sometimes get confusing. We can make more mistakes. Okay, 5 plus 1 is 6, so we have 6 squared. 3 minus 1 is 2, so we have 2 squared. So we have the square root of 36 plus 4. 36 plus 4 is 40, and remember, we don't have to go any further than that. So now we're going to go back over here and plug in our numbers. So we have a center at 5 and 3. And then our radius squared, the radius is a square root of 40, so when we square it, we get 40. So we have x minus 5 quantity squared plus y minus 3 quantity squared equals 40. Okay. Now how to graph them. This is actually one of the easiest things to do. First thing you want to do is find your center and identify your radius. Okay. The center, remember, it's x minus h, so we change this sign. So it's negative 4, change this sign, positive 1, take the square root of our r squared, so the radius is 5. To graph it, we're going to first graph our center. So we go to negative 4, 1, and we put a point, and that's going to help us identify our center. Now, for the radius, we simply go in our 4 cardinal directions, that many spaces. So I'm going to go up 5, and I'm going to put a point. And then from my center, I'm going to go to the right 5 and put a point. From my center, I'm going to go down 5 and put a point. And from my center, I'm going to go to the left 5 and put a point. And now this is the hard part. You have to kind of sketch out your circle and try to make it as circular as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. It takes practice. It's not going to always be perfect. See, mine's not a perfect circle, but we're trying. It gets close enough. So, see, like I said, easy peasy lemon squeezy. All you got to do is find your center, find your radius, plot your center, go in the 4 directions, and then make as circular a shape as you can. It's that easy. And that finishes our unit on circles. I hope you've had as much fun as I have.